Okay, hello everybody. My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. My peoples, where you at? Lots of stuff to talk about in the world. First, let's take a look at what we're working on. Here's our sort of froglodyte, caveman kind of frog native dude. We're just going to be continuing to work on this, refining the background a little bit. So the big news, of course, is Donald Trump's shooter. I mean, it's not every day that a political candidate in the United States faces an assassination attempt, so people are still talking about it. And everybody really wants to know who the shooter was and what he was all about. So we talked about in our last video on this guy, we found out what his name was, and that he wasn't exactly a communist or a liberal activist or a BLM type or anything like that. Turns out he was conservative. And the more we find out about this guy, the more it comes out that he is highly, highly conservative. So there was some reporting that he gave some money to Act Blue, which is a Democratic political action committee, like a PAC is what they call those. And that may be false. It still hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm seeing some reporting now that that donation may have been from someone who just had the same name as him, like an older guy who has the same name. I haven't been able to actually confirm that, but that seems to be where it is. So I'm seeing some reporting still where they're still saying that, yeah, it was him, and then other reporting where they're saying, no, it was this other guy. But it really seems to fit the pattern. If it was somebody else, it actually would make more sense, because it turns out that the shooter, his name was Thomas Michael Crooks. Turns out that Crooks came from a very conservative family, and according to interviews with his former classmates, remember the guy was 20 years old, so just recently graduated high school a few years ago. According to interviews with his former classmates, he was highly conservative to the point where they'd be having political discussions and everybody in the class would be on one side of an issue and he'd be the only one on the conservative side. Pretty crazy stuff, kind of throws a huge monkey wrench into the MAGA narrative that this was orchestrated by Joe Biden and stuff like that, and that all leftists are violent. And then also his family was apparently extremely conservative, putting Trump signs up on the lawn and stuff like that. Apparently his mother was a registered Democrat, and his father was registered Libertarian. But in 2020, they were hardcore MAGA. They had Trump signs in their yards. The thing is, that doesn't surprise me either, because more often than not in conservative families like this, it's essentially the husband that decides how everybody's going to vote. That's traditionally a thing. When you have these sort of trad wife, housewife type people, they usually take their husband's lead, especially if you're the more religious type. They actually preach shit like that in churches, that women are to look to their husbands for what it comes to time to vote and how you're going to vote and stuff, that they should take the lead from their husbands. I'm not even kidding. That's one of the main rationales behind trying to remove the right to vote for women. The family should be voting, not just everyone in the family, but their family should get one vote. I'm not even joking. That's the fucking rationale. So it doesn't surprise me at all that mom in the family might be a Democrat. And then also you got to remember that just being registered Democrat does not mean that you're liberal or progressive. There are plenty of conservative Democrats too, especially in the South. Although Pennsylvania, I guess you could kind of say that's still not really technically the South, but in conservative areas, it's getting pretty close to that Bible Belt there. So that's what's going on with these guys. Some other things about this shooter here is that the motive really does seem to be suicide by cop. And that was speculation last week, right? And I kind of thought that, well, maybe we'd get more details about that, as they found posts from social media and stuff from this guy. Turns out that Thomas Michael Brooks doesn't really have much of an online presence, which is actually kind of strange for somebody nowadays. We live in the internet saturation era, where everybody's at least has an Instagram, at least has a fucking Facebook, stuff like that. And apparently he didn't have any of that stuff. And he didn't have a live journal. He didn't have some kind of website where he posted a manifesto. He didn't do anything like that. So they're trying to find out like what the motive was. And when they're looking on this kid's phone, turns out that he had apparently pictures of Joe Biden on his phone as well as Trump, and had searched where each of them were going to be appearing near him. And it just turns out that Trump, just by coincidence, just happened to be within 50 miles of his house. So he went to go kill Trump instead of Biden. So this shooter easily could have tried to assassinate Biden instead. It really looks like there wasn't a political motive here. It really looks like the kid just wanted to go out, like we said last week, go out in a blaze of glory for whatever reason. You know, maybe he was suicidal or something like that and wanted to bring somebody famous with him. And it wasn't just Trump and Biden. There were also pictures of other high, like, profile political figures on his phone too. So he easily could have gone and assassinated somebody like Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi or something like that. So really does seem like, yeah, there's no ulterior political motive. He wasn't trying to murder Trump because of Project 2025 or anything like that. He really was just a deranged psychopath who didn't have much to live for and wanted to kill himself and wanted to take somebody famous with him. That's what it really looks like. So it makes perfect sense that the MAGA people are going to be in denial about this guy, because their narrative says that all leftists and liberals and progressives are violent, crazy people who, like, since they can't win in the free market of ideas, have to resort to violence, which in real life it's the exact fucking opposite of that. And they're desperate, looking for some way in order to pin this on liberals, on the Democratic Party, specifically on the Democratic Party. So, number one, so they can campaign with that. And then number two, so that they can rile their base up and get them out there to vote, and which most quite possibly could result in some violent backlash of some form. And the fact that the guy wasn't a rabid, pink-haired communist, anarchist or whatever, the fact that he wasn't like that, the fact that he wasn't even like non-white, that would have been enough. If the shooter just wasn't white, that would have been enough to call him a liberal or a communist or whatever. But the fact that he was a standard white male, deranged, conservative gun nut, the same kind of person that engages in school shootings and mass shootings at malls and banks and things all around this country, the fact that he was one of those guys throws a giant monkey wrench in their plans in order to demonize the Democrats for this. Instead, MAGA and the far right-wing conspiracy theorists have just decided just to make it up like they usually do. And hence we have conspiracy theories, which some of them which had started the exact same day of the shooting. But many conspiracy theories have jumped up as to who the shooter was, and the official story about him is being somehow manipulated by the CIA or some shit. And it's all over the fucking place. First off, they're claiming that the shooter is trans, which is just not fucking true. So we have this thing that I found on Reddit, says, long hair equals trans equals Democrats' fault. And now we have a picture of someone who kind of vaguely resembles the actual shooter, but with piercings in his lips and a choker. And they're trying to claim that this is a photo of the shooter, Thomas Michael Crooks, or that the media is not using. The media is only using this picture of him. And they're saying, well, this is what he actually looked like. But the thing is, this is not him. This is not him. You can clearly see in this photo here, he doesn't have lip piercings. This is just a person who looks like the shooter. It isn't actually the shooter. We have no idea where this picture came from. This could be someone who just dressed up like the shooter in order to take this picture. It could just be a random person on the internet. It could be AI generated. We don't know. But we do know that this is not the actual shooter. And you can see here, of course, that they put a bunch of questions with a rainbow flag behind it because they really, really, really want Thomas Michael Crooks to be gay or trans or something. That way they can deny that he was a standard conservative wacky person. Here's a couple of other things. That one doesn't work. Now they're trying to say that the shooter was somebody named Matthew Yarrick and not Thomas Michael Crooks. Here's a tweet by somebody named Cody. I am not convinced at all that Crooks was the shooter. Every photo of him, he has short hair. Growing it out this much would take a couple years. It's Matthew Yarrick. Bet! Exclamation point. The shooter pic doesn't resemble Crooks at all. And then you can see here, this is the actual Thomas Michael Crooks, and then they're saying this guy, Matthew Yarrick, is the actual shooter, and they're saying it's actually this guy. But it is not this guy. It is not this guy at all. This is misinformation. YouTube, Twitch, I am debunking this conspiracy theory. Here's another tweet from somebody. This tweet is claiming that Facebook is scrubbing all the information they can from Matthew Yarrick. It's not a conspiracy. Facebook has successfully eliminated Maxwell Yarrick, the shooter who tried to murder Donald Trump, from its search results. It was there yesterday. Today it's finally gone. Why would they eliminate his profile? Check my feed. I will have more info soon. So there's an actual video, and you can see that apparently he's trying to go to this guy's profile on his phone, and it's just not available anymore. I guess he's got the same video there twice for some reason. Here's a more updated photo of Maxwell Yarrick. I notice his hair is short here, and he also has ear gauges. You'll notice that the other photo, the kid does not have ear gauges. That's really strange. Now, why would this be? Maybe, because you start thinking like, oh, well, why would they get rid of this guy's profile if he has nothing to do with it, right? Well, maybe it wasn't Facebook. Maybe it was this guy Maxwell Yarrick himself getting rid of his stuff because people started fucking, harassing him. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe he started seeing, hey, all these people are starting to send me messages and shit, and they think I'm the assassin, and then he did the smart thing, got rid of his Facebook, got rid of his social media, until people finally just leave his ass alone. That's what I would do. I would make all my shit private if I got mistaken for a fucking shooter. Here is one from somebody named Haley Kennington. But let's look. Right. How many of you are falling for the psyop that the shooter was Thomas Crooks and not Maxwell Yarrick? If you compare the graphic photo of the shooter laying on his side with that of mugshots from Yarrick, you'll see a closed-up gauge on his right ear. You'll also notice the eyebrows from Crook and Yarrick's are different, their hair color and texture, the nose, etc. I hate to be one of those conspiracy theorist guys. I mean, we all know just how often they're right about things, wink wink, but this reeks of cover-up to me. You've seen images of Crooks with the underbite. Where is it in the image of the dead gunman? Compare the thickness of the hair. This is simply not Crooks. Why cover it up? We know that Yarrick is confirmed Antifa. Is this why they aren't telling the truth? Now, here's the thing, right? Let's take a look at what they posted. This photo here, this photo is from a dead picture where the photo of the guy that got killed. And I'm not going to show that full picture. I mean, you can kind of see there's some blood. I'm not going to show the full picture of Crooks laying there dead. But this is a detail you see. His ear has these bumps on it. This guy's ear doesn't. It's because this poster, this Haley Kennington, is posting the wrong person. She's posting here this video. You remember this video here? This is the troll that we talked about last time. His name is Jew Spotting or something like that, or Jew Watch or whatever. This guy's a troll, like a fucking white supremacist troll, who pretended to be the shooter afterwards. And that's the ear you're seeing here. So this person is getting their conspiracy theories mixed up. And if you look at this photo, it looks like, oh, you can't really see if his ear's bumpy, right? Well, I got something for you guys here. Here's a better photo, more high resolution, where you can tell that the ear actually matches. Take a look at that. Let's zoom in a little on that. Okay, so that you can all see it. This is the photo of Crooks in high school that they've been passing around. And you can see he's got these weird-ass bumps on his ear. Here's the photo of the dead shooter, Same bumps. It's the same guy. And then they go, okay, well, this, because one of the details they're pointing at, the conspiracy theories are pointing at, is saying that, oh, well, the shooter actually has a scar from where they had gauges in their ears. And this other guy, Yarrick, had a gauge in his ear. It's like, no, it's not a scar, it's blood. Blood came out of his ear. Some of it settled in the little crook where his fucking, like, earlobe is. It's the same person. Like the tweet says here, this isn't rocket science. Alright, here's another one that we're going to look at here. Something is definitely being covered up. They have actively scrubbed Maxwell Yarrick's Facebook from existence. You can see these videos as it happens in real time. Why? In caps. Would his Facebook be scrubbed if there wasn't more to the story? We aren't being told the full truth. I'm not saying anything definitive here, but this is a major red flag. You notice how conspiracy theorists always say shit like that? I'm not actually saying, I'm just asking questions. No, this is just a red flag. Because they have to leave it open because they're full of shit and they know they're full of shit. They don't want us to do our own research into this very significant matter. They just trust the FBI and experts. Even Joe Biden said as much. That's another one that conspiracy theorists always say. Do your own research. Like somehow you're going to stumble across the super secret info that everyone on Earth is just too oblivious to notice or some shit. So fucking ridiculous. The same FBI that was weaponized against real Donald Trump since he descended the elevator in 2015 and threw his hat in for the ring for president. The same FBI that wouldn't come out right away after this incident and said it was an assassination attempt. They don't want the people looking into this because something is very off. I love this too. I love that. Weaponize the DOJ against Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump committed crimes. He did it. The document case that just, like, got overturned because of some shit that, like, fucking Justice fucking Clarence Thomas said that they could do. Like, they just got rid of the document case. The case where Donald Trump went home with top secret documents and stored them in his bathroom and shit, right? Which is fucking illegal. Even if you are the goddamn president, completely overturned. He did it. What do you want the Department of Justice, what do you want them to do? Just let him go? Right? The thing he got convicted for, the hush money case, he did it. That's illegal. Michael Cohen went to fucking prison for that shit. Is Donald Trump just not supposed to be, like, held accountable for that? The fake elector thing, he fucking did it. Alright? They sent fake electors to try to steal the goddamn election. Should they just get away with that? Should we just say, forget it, okay, that's fine. You don't have to do shit, whatever. It's okay for Donald Trump to get away with committing crime. Is that what you're trying to fucking say? God damn, I hate that. I hate that so fucking much. These people are so fucking brainwashed. Alright, let's look at a few more of these fucking travesties here. Here's a guy named Narc Fuckerberg. Google won't let you search Maxwell Yarrick's name last night and this morning. This is true. What are they hiding? Republicans should investigate Google and ask why Yarrick's name was censored. If I said the Easter Bunny tried to kill Trump, would they censor it? I would like you guys to imagine which one of these is more likely. Okay? Is it more likely that the government is forcing Google to cover up the identity of an assassin for fear of what? I don't know. What would they have to be afraid of? What? Mass hysteria, panic, violence, something like that? Is it more likely that's what happened? Or is it more likely that Google, if they have done anything like this at all, did it on their own in order to stop misinformation? Which one of those do you think is more likely? I mean, I think neither of those are likely. I think Maxwell Yarrick is like someone who just has nothing to do with anything. And I think if there was any suppression of Googling for his name, it was probably Google just saying, you know what, we're going to nip this shit in the bud because misinformation is bad and they don't want it to spread around the same way it spread around for COVID, the same way it spread around for the January 6th conspiracy theory, the same way every time a fucking conspiracy theory pops up and the right wing loses their fucking mind because they're a bunch of crazy people and they start getting obsessed with a fucking stupid fucking conspiracy. The same way it happened with QAnon and all this other shit. Maybe they said, you know what? No. We're not going to allow our platform to spread misinformation. I mean, do you have any proof that the government caused any of this? No, you don't. You know why? Because that's bullshit. That's complete, total, 100% bullshit. Show me some evidence that Google decided that, hey, we're going to stop this. We're going to suppress searches of this guy's name. Show me some evidence of that. All right? Thousands of fucking people work at Google. You can't just do something like that without somebody blabbing. Somebody would have blabbed on 4chan. Somebody would have blabbed on Facebook. Somebody would have said something, hey, this isn't right. Do you think no Trump supporters work at Google? Like, Google just only hires, like, Democrats? Is that what I'm being led to believe? So every single person, like, how many fucking people does Google employ? You know what? I'm not going to look it up. But I think it's safe to assume thousands and thousands and thousands. I wouldn't be surprised if something like 30,000 people work at Google worldwide. It's gigantic. So you're going to say, like, not one of those fucking people didn't get the memo that says, hey, suppress searching on this guy's name or whatever. And they decided not to talk. I find that simply not believable. You know, there's a reason why conspiracy theories sometimes, when they say they come true. Something like, say, MK Ultra, for example. Why do we know about MK Ultra? Because people came forward and they talked about it. Because you can't keep a giant secret like that from thousands and thousands of people, right? When you have thousands and thousands of people who are involved in the process, the more people that are involved in keeping a secret, the harder it is to keep the secret. That's why things like the moon landing and shit like that, you know, the conspiracies about the moon landing, all that never happened, all right? That's why that's fucking ludicrous. There were thousands and thousands of people involved in the moon landing. Not just the people that worked at NASA, they had all the people that built the rockets, all the people that tested them, hundreds and hundreds of media personalities, and to think that every single one of them would keep a secret, like, no, it was really filmed by Stanley Kubrick in fucking Las Vegas. Get the fuck out of here. That's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever heard in my entire life. And it's insulting to think so. It's like these people think real life is like a fucking movie. Like, that's the kind of thing you see in the movies. You see, like, in the X-Files or something. That a shadowy cabal controls everything. And they have a fucking, 100% monopoly on information. And from the stroke of a keyboard, they can just delete information off of the internet. That's fantasy. That's some shit you see in, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I need you to hack the internet and get rid of all mention of these aliens. It's like, get the fuck out of here. It doesn't happen like that in real life. So fucking stupid, these people, man. But that's what happens. That's why we live in a society that's just saturated by fucking pop culture. And people think that, like, the government has mystical fucking powers. So ridiculous. All right, moving on. This is from Roger Stone. Inadvertently deleted earlier, credible sources insist that the shooter in the Trump attempted assassination is in fact Maxwell Yarrick, who first surfaced here. It doesn't surprise me at all that Roger Stone would be behind this conspiracy theory. Does not surprise me at all in the slightest. He probably has, like, a team of people who sit there and get ready to spread misinformation when he needs to. I wouldn't doubt that for a fucking second, because this really came up within the same day of the shooting. They had this ready to go. So, do they just have, like, a file on hand of, like, potential, like, people that they can call patsies or whatever? So when something like this happens, they can just scramble and get it. Is that what they have? I mean, it's amazing how fast they moved on this. How fast, I mean, they must have a database of, like, Antifa people that they can try to blame shit on. I wouldn't doubt that at all. Roger Stone, by the way, is notorious for this kind of rat fucking, if you guys are not aware of that. He had a hand in January 6th. He should be in prison for that shit. He was essentially the liaison between the Trump camp and the Proud Boys and the militia assholes who showed up to try to actually storm the Capitol with weapons. That was Roger Stone. There's a reason why after when, January 6th went south, that he fucking hightailed it out of town as fast as possible. Because he knew that he could be in fucking prison If we lived in a goddamn country where the rule of law actually mattered, he should be in prison. So, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. These people are so full of fucking shit. You know, it's up to us to prevent misinformation from being spread like this. Because it's not the only conspiracy theory out there. Now the fact that it's undeniable that it was Thomas Michael Crooks. Now they're trying to say that, like I said earlier in the stream, they're trying to say that he's trans, or they're trying to say that he's gay, or they're trying to say that he's a Antifa person, something like that. And they're going to keep spreading these lies and misinformation all the way up until and after Election Day. Because conservatives and Republicans first off, they don't give a shit about the truth. This kid could have gone up there with a Trump hat on. He could have had "I love Donald Trump" tattooed on his face. And they'd still be trying to bend it that he's like some kind of Antifa person. So keep that in mind, number one. The truth has never really mattered to conservatives, especially MAGA people. The truth, they don't give a fuck about the truth. Ever. They never have. If they cared about the truth, they wouldn't be voting for Donald Trump. If reality was a thing that was important to these assholes, they wouldn't be voting for Donald Trump. Keep that in mind. All they care about is trying to pwn the liberals. That's it. Making Donald Trump look good and making their so-called political enemies look bad, and that is it. And it's up to us to stop them. So when you see these people spreading misinformation like this, when you see them posting this shit online, when you see your friends or your family or whatever spreading this misinformation, push back on them. Because it's up to us to stop this fucking shit from spreading around. Because the truth matters. The truth is important. If we can't fucking agree on what the fucking truth is, now, how the hell are we ever going to, like, have a regular productive society? How will anything ever get done if one side is running around screaming dumbass conspiracy theories all the time, pushing fucking stupid, random, ridiculous bullshit so that they can always get their way? That's what it really comes down to. Rat fucking politicking by unscrupulous assholes looking to manipulate people in order to get themselves in power. And you know what? Fuck that.
Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.